Aloha, Flow Riders, and welcome to The Flow. I am your host, Doc Rock, along with my awesome co-host.
Hey, everyone, it's Katie.
Yay! All right, today we are going to flow it up. It is episode 99.
No, it's episode 100.
Wait, really? How do I keep missing? You know what? It's Hawaii time.
Today's the day. Even in Hawaii, it's still episode 100.
Episode 100. Episode. Yeah. I just went mad German just now. It's episode. Wow, that's crazy. Can you imagine, like, when we started this? Like, oh, yeah, we should take, like, 10 episodes. We'll be good.
We have a lot to say.
Oops. It turned out that it was a lot of fun. And, yeah, it's kind of cool to watch it grow over the times. We've done them. Like now in remote locations, we've done them in the same place. We've done them from a hotel room in Albany, and where was the other one? Was it Texas? Yes, it was Dallas. We did one with the crickets. We did it in Dallas with the crickets. We even did one on the pool deck in Orlando, Florida, at the resort that they paved over now. Mm-hmm. So we had the Flofa episode, which is still my favorite. That was just absolute fun. So yeah, it's kind of crazy. It's been so happy 100. I feel like I should take a shot, but it's 7 a.m.
Yeah, like an espresso shot for right now, and then other shots later. Espresso shots for the moment.
All right, so what are we kicking off today for the Hundy?
Well, I thought today we would talk a little bit about podcast sets. And I specifically want to phrase it in that way, podcast sets, instead of talking about studio, because, you know, we have a bunch of episodes in our 100 all about the gear and the tech and kind of all of the camera equipment and lights and microphones and all that great stuff, which we will cover a little bit of today. But I wanted everyone to have a good understanding of all of the different options that come with a studio set. So that includes the Flofa. Maybe you want a Flofa. That includes whether or not you're remote or in person, whether you're on location, or you have just a really simple solo shot. So I want everyone, as we always do, to think about what the content and the structure of your show is, or what you plan it to be. And then through that lens, we're going to talk through all the different options available to you as you think about building out your space. So what the show will look like to everyone watching on the other side. So sets, not fully studio, but a little bit studio.
All right, cool. So listen, this is really good. I love this idea. And it's just the idea that I think there is a lot of overthinking when it comes to this kind of thing.
Yeah.
And I think part of it is people are still, like, I legit just had this conversation on my video yesterday. And the thought process was triggered by my buddy Kurt. I love Kurt, but I'm going to disagree with him hardcore on this one. Kurt said that podcast video is different from regular video. And I'm like, no, it's not. That's why everybody keeps overthinking it. Because if you were to do a show and I'm going to review frying pans, something as mundane as frying pans, and I'm going to go from the standard issue Walmart $12 joint to the Hexaclad joint to the Lodge stable $25 Lodge cast iron that will last you your entirety of your life, to the Martha Stewart knockoff Lodge, to these artisanal brands that are made in like Portland and Seattle. There's a couple of really cool ones that are, people are trying to bring back the art. And I ended up with 30 10-minute apiece videos talking about the merits and, well, demerits of each one of those particular frying pans. I could put those in the playlist and call it Everything You Need to Know About Frying Pans and More Podcasts. I could have shot them as YouTube videos and at the end go, wow, I got 30 dope videos and the people are loving it. It gets the people going. I could literally just throw in a 3,000 by 3,000 square, write a description, and call that a podcast. I could then in turn strip the audio for all of those and upload it to Libsyn, Captivate, Buzzsprout, whatever. Mm-hmm. And that's a podcast. So the podcast is only the container that makes it not episodic necessarily, but episodic style where I can watch them in a collection. It's a box set. So people need to stop it with the crazy definitions. And I understand why people do that, because the industry has kind of done that. And that's the reason why brand new people get a little bit lost, because they get caught in labels that don't mean jack.
Yeah.
So sorry, Kurt. I love you. We can fight about this in person.
This actually, though, raises I guess a couple of questions that I've been thinking about recently, and I'm sure that many other people have these kinds of thoughts in mind, right? So if you are a video creator and you also have a podcast, or maybe you have a couple podcasts, right? So Doc and I are great examples of this. You might want to think about your space and your set a little differently based on the different kinds of content that you're creating, right? So like I have this space right now. I'm in my home studio. So I have my mushroom backgrounds and my woobles and my chickens and whatever, all my personality stuff, right? I have my I go into the Amesbury studio, which I haven't been into it for a while because I've been loving the internet connection here at home a little bit better. But there is an incredible studio there, right? And that feels very Ecamm, right? It's got all of the branded Ecamm things in the background. It's been very much intentionally set up to be very Ecamm. But I have this podcast that I do for fun where I'm reviewing movies, right? And so I've been thinking more about like, oh, maybe I should have like a background specific for my show that has a little bit more of the movie personality, right? So it's good to think through, like Doc was just saying, like your content, but you might also be thinking like about different, creating different spaces, whether it's in the same room, maybe it's just a really simple space, maybe you're carrying your brand through to all the different shows and content that you do, and that's fine. Or maybe you want, like, I'm honestly thinking I have a flofa over there off camera. So, and it's got movie posters all behind it. So maybe in my case, like this is Ecamm Katie just coming to you, and this is all the pieces behind me, that the flair that make up who I am and are identifiable. But maybe when I'm doing my movie podcast, I'll be on my sofa with my movie posters background, and that creates a different, welcoming people into a different space and setting the intention that, hey, in this episode, in this video, we're actually talking about movies, right? So I think, again, understanding your content, knowing that it can be used in all of these different ways, it's really important as you're thinking about your set and your studio spaces to think about how are you welcoming people into the content that you're about to talk to? What story and message are you telling by what you have behind you, what space you're in, what you're wearing potentially, all of these different things that kind of make up the set and the studio space.
What's really cool about your setup is for people who don't, like, okay, I desk it, so my camera is against the wall at the desk. It is a little bit more work for me to flip the room. But what I have been working on in the last couple of days is building something that's going to allow me to flip the room.
Yeah.
Right. So the other day I opened up a brand new, softbox, because I'm going to do what we did in Amesbury, and I'm going to put camera on a pole. So that way, if I want to change the set, all I got to do is go to the DJI Osmo Pocket or the Osmo Action 5 or the phone against that pole, and then shoot this way. So you're looking into the edit bay, right? Yeah. So yours would be super cool because you can flip the room. And honestly, this sounds crazy. I know it'd be impossible because there's no way that the kids are going to be quiet that whole time, but I would love to see you shoot in the library. Your library is dope. Like, it's what I've always dreamed I could have, but square footage in Hawaii is crazy expensive. Yeah. Your library would cost me $300,000 just in square feet alone. So I can't do that. So it's a vicarious situation, but I think it would be so dope to get like a high back chair with the brass doohickeys, like that kind of red Corinthian leather, and then you're sitting there like Nick Offerman in your cable sweater, because the fire is right there, the books are right there, that smell of the books, and then I think that'd be dope to talk about movies, because most of the movies come from books. Yeah. Right? Yeah. Now then Scarlett would run and be like, "Mom!" And you'd be like, "Damn it, there goes the podcast." So there goes the podcast, but you know what I mean? I think that what you just said is dope, because it allows you to put some personality in it and not just be a talking head. Yeah. And a great example of that is Alec, because Alec started with the backdrop. And then he was like, yeah, I'm not really feeling this. Because everyone always comes to us, well, how do we do the backdrop? How do we do the backdrop? And I'm like, yo, the backdrop, look, you got to do what you got to do. I'm not a hater, but it is stealing your personality because that backdrop is not you. And I think you should avoid it unless you have no choice. And there are definitely times where you have no choice. I started on the backdrop and I totally felt a difference. And I hate this word. I felt a difference in, I wouldn't want to call it confidence, but I call it delivery. I felt a difference in my delivery once I got rid of the virtual backdrop and started using a regular space.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, let's dive in, because I know everyone in our team helped research some different examples so we can show people. So Luis, if you want to swing on over to our examples scene, we can talk through, because there's lots of, I think a really important thing for people to understand is that there are lots of options available for you. And because video is so visual, like you literally just have to go over to YouTube and start taking a look at what people are doing, right? We're going to start with this face. Real quick,
DJ Red on Beat has something very important to say, and I agree with it. He said, it's hard to stay motivated if you have to set it up and take it down all the time.
Yes.
You just need to sit down and record. And I 100% agree with that.
Yes.
I 100% agree with that. Boom.
That's actually really great. So in the conversation about sets and studios, like if you are at all able to, having a defined space goes a really long way. We do have examples, and we've mentioned this a lot of times before, but just a reminder, if you are in a place where it is a shared space, you can't, build out a defined space, there are more and more these days, like studio spaces available for rent or to borrow. So there are options that are still a defined space, even if it's not in your home or even if it's something that you're borrowing or renting. Many libraries in major cities have podcasting labs now built within them that are cool spaces. Kit.com is building out studios for their customers in like a number of different cities, which is incredible that all of their customers can use to record their shows. And then there are just companies, more and more companies that are offering podcast studio spaces. So there are options outside a room in your home. There are options outside a room in your office. There are mobile different solutions. So there's so many different places that are available to you. You just need to think through what makes sense. And as Doc was saying, to think through like that it is way easier to be motivated when you step into a space that allows you to be creative and that has everything ready to go. So whatever that means, whether it's a borrowed space or your own space.
Carolyn says she's struggling because the recording space is also the craft space. So you have to clean up all the projects before filmmaking. I'm going to push back against that because that's an excuse. Here's why. No good crafters space is cute like those people on Pinterest. The people on Pinterest that have really cute spaces with the pegboard and everything is in order, they're not crafting. People who are actually doing crafts, they're craft. My grandma's sewing room was clean when she's not sewing, but when she was sewing, there's stuff everywhere. And I think if you became the first person to show up with a in progress crafting room, people will vibe with you more because you'd be the first person telling the truth. Everybody else is lying. You cannot craft and be perfectly clean the whole time. It just doesn't work. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
So I think you just don't overthink it. Anyway, if the wood shop is spotless, bro, no one's buying any furniture from us. When they come in and they got to step over sawdust, they know we actually do work.
All right. So this video, Luis, feel free to pop on screen as well to talk through it a little bit. But this is an on location podcast studio space, correct?
Yes, this is something that I was able to do, and I'm just gonna switch over to the previous scene. This is a behind the scenes of exactly what I had. It was just my MacBook Air, my Rode wireless microphones connected directly via USB-C, and then my camera connected via USB-C, just the same. A simple little light, and this was just in the eating area, like the dining area of the hotel. And then I was able to do this on the live stream and just hit play on that real speak. I don't think any of the audio is coming through, right? No, perfect.
No, which is great. That's fine.
No, and that's good.
Yeah.
But this is the quality that you can get.
What makes it really Exactly. And what makes it really nice is that it's still it's still the same overall feel of your show, right? So it's still you front and center, your microphone in front of you. And I love that you still have your, your animated kind of background around it. So you still are pulling in the kind of the branding and the consistency of the show, even though your set is on location. And honestly, I would say if you are going to be on location, quote unquote, for here and there or in a pop-up, double down into that. It's totally fine to let your people know, hey, I'm on location today. Like, I'm actually, hilariously, I'm in a hotel and I found this like quiet space to be able to still come to you. Like, I think that this is an instance when you have a mobile setup that you're going to be popping up into different places here and there. It's totally fine for it to be a little bit less polished than what you would normally have. But again, Luis has made it really easy to bring all that gear and equipment with him, and it's made it really easy to still get a consistent look, right? So,
yeah, he hides it underneath the stroller with nephew in it, so you don't have to carry it. He got wheels.
Exactly.
You know what's really cool about this setup is, it's so realistic that I'm looking for Michael in the comments, but he was on the comments and videos thing. I was like, hey, Mike, oh, he's not here. He's on Luis's video, so I'm trying to comment to people that's not here.
Yeah. Exactly.
It's super, super cool. I really like this. And I don't know, I sent it to Luis sort of last minute, so I don't know if he had a chance to pull it up. But there's a really cool cat named Jefferson Fisher. His whole podcast comes from his car. Oh, this is why we got a good producer. Look at here.
Yep.
You talk about mobile studio. Jefferson Fisher is a highly accomplished individual. Okay. When I mean highly accomplished, I mean highly accomplished individual. And I think it's funny because there are so many people that will hide behind their professionalism, their doctoral degrees or whatever not. Jefferson shoots a whole bunch of his shows from the whip. I got to pick up my kids, and this is the pickup line.
Mm-hmm.
This is my best information I got while I'm in the pickup line waiting to pick up my kids. Like, this is, to me, brilliant.
It is brilliant. It is 100% a podcast set, right? So he is there in the car. And I would say we got a question in from Ed asking about green screen backgrounds. I will say, Ed, that being physically in the car or in the past example that we gave of Luis in that area, that is actually less distracting and more interesting for a viewer than a virtual background, which has the potential to look fake, or God forbid, your like hair disappears or your arm disappears, or there are just so many things that can go wrong with a virtual background that unless you're in a very controlled space and you have tested and practiced a lot with it, it actually ends up being a lot more distracting for your viewers. And the entire time they're sitting there going, wait a second, like, where are they? Like, you're changing their thought patterns and you're getting in the way of their receiving of the actual content that they showed up to hear. So I would say, like, in this instance is a great example of he does not look any less professional being in his car. In fact, people, I'm sure, are thinking like, oh, that's really cool. The sound is still great because he's in it, because he's in like a recording booth, a closed space, right? So I would challenge you and say that you actually are more kind of authentically yourself and also a better creator by just owning the space that you're in, and instead of trying to fake it or to pretend. So
I hate to say this out loud, Katie. I just got super excited by what Steven just put in.
Yeah, right?
I would much rather you go to Vistaprint, make sure you get matte. The keyword is matte, M-A-T-T-E, matte.
Yep.
I would rather you get your logo or the Owens Mill like twirly gray, with all the splotches on it, or like Kelly used to use the Nebula.
Yep.
I would rather you get a pull-up backdrop and put it behind you to hide your kids running around naked in the back or whatever than to use a green screen. And again, nothing wrong. If you got to use it, you got to use it. But just understand, if you go on, remember there used to be a TV show normally played after the Super Bowl or a playoff when the timing is messed up. They would show you the greatest TV bloopers. The majority of the bloopers come from the weatherman. Why? Because of chroma key. Or green screen. Sorry, I'll use the mogul word. It's chroma key. The majority of them will come from that because there's so many things that can go wrong. So I fully understand why people do it. They have a limited space. Like I live in Hawaii, dude. I have a 1,000 square foot apartment. And I used to have my studio in an apartment, and I used to use a black backdrop because going to edit the green screen actually took more work. So I swapped my green screen for a black fabric, which was just twill, like Huskies, I know what twill. I know how to describe twill. You know what it is. I just went to Walmart and I got yards of twill because it doesn't have any shine on it. And I would just hang that on a set of crappy cowboy studio backdrops, and I would just sit in front of that because I didn't have to fight lighting. It wasn't so hard to set up, and it just looked better. And honestly, if you don't wear black clothes, you could actually key that out just as easy as you can key out green or blue. So I can't believe I'm gonna say this out loud in public on the internet to be recorded. I'm gonna agree with SL and say, get a pop-up. Get like a legit pop-up or a matte whiteboard. Like if you can get a big rolling matte whiteboard, all of the above, V-flat is what we call it in photography. It's just a folding set of plywoods, like a book, and you just open it and you sit in the middle of it and shoot at it. All of those to me would be better than a green screen because I just think green screen steals your personality. I just do, and I'll stand by that.
I wish
I
we
think
had
Jefferson
this.
looks so good in his car.
He really does. I also it tells a story, right? So people are watching your content, but they are also paying attention to what's behind you, and what you're doing, right? I will say this
Smart
as
Jeremy
someone
said that.
People who are watching any of my videos ask me all the time about mushroom wallpaper, about the little crocheted guys I have behind me, about everything. It is giving them a talking point. It is giving them a familiarity. It's building a story, right? You're building a story. And I wish we had an example of this. We can definitely share this another time or with people, or just encourage people to go back over and watch Mary Lou Mandel's videos from a year or two ago. So she's since changed her set and her studio space around. But she used to come at us all with literally just like a plain, I think it was a white wall behind her, and she popped two different colored lights. So it was just two simple colors behind her. And because she was so great with her content and so great with her confidence and her personality on screen, after a while, you would see that and see those videos and they would be recognizable as her content, right? It's like, so she created a set with literally just a white wall and a couple of colored lights. So it does tell a story. People do notice it and pay attention to it, but you don't need to be worried about letting people into your space, right? So I think it's really super important. All right, let's switch to the next one, Luis.
Yes.
Now that we've seen him jump in and out of his car, so
No, that means like Luis had to bend down and get Aiden real quick. Who's this dork on the screen? I mean, Leo, not me. So let me explain you this. This is incredible to me, people. Because so in this studio, we used to always do this from a very elaborate studio in the Bay Area in California. And what happened is with the pandemic and some changes and things like that, and just going through the way shows are changing over time, Leo is now in his house. Devendra is calling from his home. And oh my God, my brain just went dumb. Stacy calling from her place, and I'm here. So I'm in Honolulu. So we're all spread over. But the Mac is in Mac co-location, which I believe is in Nevada somewhere. So the Mac studio is not even in the room. And the producer, in this case, John, is producing from his house somewhere else. So we all remoted into this machine. But we're running one of the longest running, right? That is episode 1008. We're episode 100. This is episode 1008 from 2 months ago.
Wow.
Right? This show is going to be old enough to drink this year. Like one of the long. That's why people say, "Well, video podcasting is new." I'm like, "Nah, fam. We've been doing that mess since 2008." Like,
see, and look at his, but look at his set and his background here, right? So,
and it started with just a wall, and every week we've added a different thing, and so that glowing Twit logo behind was the newest piece. Yep. And it's just a bookshelf. and then just adding some unique pieces. So finding an old Mac, finding an old, what do you call it, like nuclear clock type situation. But it literally just started out as a plain room. And if you flip that thing around, you'd be like, wow, I can't believe that's the same studio. Sorry, Leo, I'm gonna stop snitching.
Well, and what's neat about this, and we do this obviously with our show as well, but you have like again, like camera switching, you have people that are calling in remote. So like when everyone like Doc or Leo are full screen, you see their entire set in their space, and it feels, uniquely them, uniquely the show. But then when they're all together, you just have the simple branding around it. Everyone's video quality looks good. Their faces are all about the same size. Everything is framed and produced really well. So again, like each one of these people who are joining this 4-person panel discussion, this show, right? They all have their own podcast set and their own podcast background. So I think it's, again, thinking through like in-person versus remote versus on location, right? Here's an example of they know that their show is going to have a ton of guests on, so they need to look consistent across the board, but they need to have a defined space for their home base and for where Leo is, which they've really done.
And a very good important thing about this particular show, and I was talking about Stacey Higginbotham, it was Jennifer Patterson, JPAT. One of the things that she said in the show, which I thought was very important. And again, she is an editor at The Verge. She says, I'd rather watch people that just are like normal people in their house having a conversation with us instead of these hyper polished shows. She legit said that in this particular show. So I just wanted to let that sort of dive in to your brain that everyone's trying to be perfect. And the general population is over the hyper polished shows. Yeah. Like they just are, because they don't seem real. They don't seem human. They don't seem attainable, and they don't seem relatable. So be relatable, right? One of my favorite things, and honestly, why I fell in love with Stephanie back in the day is my niece's name is Emma Garcia. Stephanie's daughter's name is Emma. Yeah. So when the little kid, Emma, would always run into her show and interrupt her, I was like, I remember that when my Emma was not old enough to talk back and keep asking me for money.
Yep.
Like
exactly.
It like brought a little like to the throat every time Emma would run in, Mom, I want a snack. Right? Because it's something that I related to her. Stephanie and I are like best friends at this point, but it's one of those things where that was the connection. She could have just been some other marketing lady on TV talking smack about how to do content. But every time Emma would interrupt her, I would run bets in the chat. Okay, what timestamp will Emma run in? And then we would all crack jokes. And like, okay, someone's going to get the $5 Starbucks card for winning that. So.
Oh my gosh. But important to note though, in everything that Doc just said, the one thing that is consistent across the board with all of these is that the actual video quality and the audio quality, which I know we're not listening to right now, are solid, right? So like the background and the set can be more personalized, can be messy in some cases, can be very specific or general. Like there's a lot of flexibility there. And what keeps it professional is the actual like content itself and as good quality as you can get in your camera and in your audio. The background and kind of the set of it, you have a ton of flexibility with. So it really keep that in mind, is that like sometimes I think we need for our set to look professional, and I don't think our set needs to look professional. I think our set needs to express who we are, what the show is, what the content is, our personality, and that might be messy. You probably aren't, like, unless you're like, I don't know, a laundry specialist selling washing machines, you probably don't want piles of laundry behind you, but that doesn't mean that you don't want some of your personality, or, maybe it's like your kid pops in and that's okay. Like, I think it is the opportunity to allow people to come into our space and to welcome people into our space. So whatever that means for you is what your podcast set should look like.
Yeah, that's super funny, because I was just thinking about our other Paul, who is the the appliance repair guy. For him, laundry in the set might actually be good.
Tons of laundry on your set, Paul. Tons of laundry on your set.
Super funny. That's super funny. All right, let's kick over to the next one. Let's see what else we got. This is cool.
Well, this one is great
concept.
Because Doc just redid this studio space, but I really wanted to include Liz in here. So shout out to Liz Wilcox, an incredible email specialist. You should absolutely check out her show, The Email Sound Booth, which is absolutely incredible. But what's really neat about this is that Liz has a very distinct personality, and Liz does not want to be professional. She notably wants to be semi-professional. She wants to come across as approachable. She wants for it to feel very real. And so, but she's got a personality. And so she's really welcomed this personality into her space. And Doc helped her put all of those pieces behind. So this set looks really simple, but is really intentional with everything from the colors to each individual piece of artwork hanging on the walls to everything, right? But it's also easy enough that she can just walk in, turn everything on and go. And it was a child's bedroom beforehand with wallpaper and everything else. So anything else you want to add here, Doc? I mean, each thing is so personal.
Again, what is so incredible about this particular setup in general is when you see what she came away with, what she started with. Let me dead serious, honestly. We didn't have to do anything to this. We could have left it the way it was. Mm-hmm. Because she had a 2017 Core i5 iMac. That sure is new, but everything else, a Logitech C910, not 2010. We're talking like 2014.
Yeah.
With that two pieces of equipment and Ecamm Live, she produced over $500,000 in revenue. Mm-hmm. I am $500,000 in debt in this studio. so thanks for the raise, Kates. Ken, Glenn, thank you guys. Listen, like legit, I just want people to get that through your head. She had a Core i5. That means one person, don't move, no overlays, run Ecamm, record, and out-earned everybody that we know. Just about. So don't get crazy. But now that we made it cute, and we got her a new iMac, and it matches her personality. And the biggest thing was we didn't want to mess with her personality. So did I feel weird rolling in a Home Depot buying a gallon of yellow paint? Absolutely. But it's her deal. And we almost nailed the color perfectly. And it was just one wall. And then we did the accent and the paint by I mean Caleb. Caleb painted the high parts. I can't reach up there. So Liz painted the low parts because I can't reach down there. But it's just really nice. And we put her posters because she's all about NSYNC. And, the big ass calendar was very important to her because it's how she explains to people how to plan out their stuff. And it's very simple. And it's on a rolling stand, family. It is legit living on a rolling stand. And I just think it is incredible. It's absolutely incredible. And it's so her. And she says it has to be me. I have to feel like me when I'm in here. And that's why I think going back to what we said, and again, I don't hate on the green screen people. It's not you. It's the green screen. This is her. Easy.
Yeah. It absolutely is. And I love that you told that story because I think it's really, again, this is a great example of the gear doesn't matter in this space. What makes her feel creative and allow her to come to the next level of her business isn't the gear. It's making a space that she feels creative in, that she feels like she can come in and create and spend time. And she was already making the content. It was already working. But being able to infuse it with her personality and kind of creating this set space, it is only going to help her get better and is only going to help make her feel and be much more creative, right? So I think it's hugely important to call that out. All right, over to the next one.
That's so good.
So I love these examples, and Doc was kind enough to introduce me to Brandon and to Uncensored. SENSORED, uncensored.
Camera censored.
Camera censored. But I have been noticing, and I'm sure many of you have as well, this like trend of really beautiful, really like well-produced in-person studio spaces, right? So these are spaces where they are not just bringing remote people in using Ecamm. They're actually welcoming guests and co-hosts and partners physically into their space, right? So everything here is expensive, is intentional, but it is creating like a very welcoming space, a vibe, like every single detail is captured so that the audience watching and listening feel like they're in like a television production, right? And you can see, like, as this is playing out, they're using their producer is using camera switching and camera angles, right? So this is a full production, but again, makes sense for their show, and the entire set is a studio, right? It feels like you're being welcomed into a TV studio. So there's a lot of intentionality that goes into this, not only in the actual physical elements of things that are behind them, but also in how the show is structured, the camera switching, the flow of the show, all of it. So again, this makes sense for some people. It may not make sense for you, but there are lots of options out there for how to do these kinds of things, both in painting your room, bringing in furniture, but also even in the production aspects of this show, right? So what they're doing with each of the scenes that they're showing is very different than a lot of the shows like ours, where it's a straight up, for the most part, it's either screen sharing or camera sharing and whatever else. So worth highlighting.
Listen, Jeremy just brought up a really good question, and it has to do sort of, in a way, if you look at JP and Brandon, or like even Marshall, didn't see me. So Marshall loves a warm tone. I prefer cool tones. Also, I like a darker studio. They like a brighter studio. And I have an intention behind my darker studio. I don't know if I've ever shared this with anybody, but I'll give you my intention behind having a darker studio. I am 6 hours behind you guys. So 9 times out of 10, when you're watching me at what is my, say, 1 o'clock, it's 8 p.m. to you, 9 p.m. to you guys. So my room is nighttime because the majority of my audience is watching me at night.
You're also removing the time from your space completely, right? So even if it is daytime, we don't know.
because I don't have any windows.
Yeah.
I don't have any windows, right?
Yeah.
So, also, Jeremy, this is because I did this for a profession. So like, I understand these things. This space is an 8x8 with very crappy ventilation. So if I make it camera bright, I will melt in here. I am a fat dude. I will be just liquid sweat. So I intentionally have a 200 watt that is about 50 inches away from me at a 45 degree. I have a 60 watt that's about 30 something inches away from me at a 45 degree. And I have that right there, believe it or not, that is 1,000-watt light, but it's on like 1%. And then there's another one right here above me. That's a 60 watt and it's on 10%. The purple one is a 60 watt. And then there's a bunch of lights. And then I have my Gobi lights are accidentally turned off. I mean, Stream Deck it. But I have over 18 lights in here, and most people would never know that because I have everything properly controlled because I come from video world. Like I film for movies. So like I know what I'm doing, but you don't have to get that crazy. I'm not telling anyone. I have lights inside my tool chest. Like I don't expect people to go that psycho. But if you want, and I realized I had a blackout because normally the mixer is on back there just so that it provides a little additional lighting. But yeah, you don't have to go that crazy. It's just something to let people know that hopefully that turns on. Anyway, so yeah, I did it dark on purpose so that way I could be anywhere in the world at any time and then it feels like it's normal. So yeah, that was the positioning behind me doing it this way.
Yeah.
And I have a dark soul.
But again, like it just speaks to the intention. There is no right or wrong. There is only what is right and wrong for you, for your show, your audience, and your content, right? What you're creating. So what makes sense for Doc isn't going to make sense for me, isn't going to make sense for Marshall, isn't going to make sense for Luis. Like it's all different, which is why it's important to know what your options are. And it's also important to not just directly copy what someone else is doing, but think through the like why behind what they're doing and the why behind what you're trying to do, right? So like I think personalizing it but also making it really practical and really easy for you to create in that space, I think are important.
And also like if you look at my studio or like DJ Rob's studio, we are the right level of high yellow that warm studio would make us look like we have jaundice or spray tan like 47. So I can't really do the warm tone thing. If I was a shade darker or a shade lighter, I might be able to pull it off. But Puerto Rican and warm tones can go wrong. And Rob and I are about the same temperature of Puerto Rican, so it just doesn't match, right? Like even Brandon is golden looking because of the warm tone, right?
Yeah.
So again, that's his choice, and it matches with the red. So if he went cool, he would look purple, which would look odd. So yeah, it's just really a matter of choice. It kind of looks like casino. Well, in Hawaii people call Vegas the ninth island, so that would be close.
That makes sense.
No, I'm a DJ, so like to me, it just brings out my DJ vibes.
Awesome. All right, let's swing into the next one.
It's right when we get on Nikon noobs.
So this is another creator that again has like an incredible in-person studio set, right? So this is David Chan's, and his podcast again is done in studio, and all of the elements that are in and around him are intentional, and they make sense for the show and they make sense for him. And when he has people join him on the show, they don't call in remotely. They physically come into the studio. I think Ken and Glenn were like one of the few that actually just called in remotely to join them. But the mass majority of people are there in the same space with him. And that is like how the show functions. And there is an intentionality behind it. Again, he's using colored lighting. His set is darker, like what yours is like, Doc. So I think it really does like a nice job. And we're seeing more and more of this now. Like people are really investing in these very, in many cases, like expensive, but well-defined, really like television sets is what we're really like.
I have a question, Kate.
Really looks that way.
Expensive.
I mean, fair. I'm just saying.
I'm not picking. I mean, seriously, because I want to know what you think that means, because I want to see what. Okay, you think that differently than me. I come from the studio space, so everything that's available to consumers right now is super cheap to me.
Yeah.
Right. So I'm just curious, and there wasn't even a slight.
I guess what I'm trying to say is like, look, so like what I am doing right now in my home studio is costing me maybe $500 at the absolute max, right? So like I'm using an existing room. I have the room decorated how I want the room to be. It also happens to look good on camera. I have pretty affordable, like cheaper, quote unquote, gear. I have kind of simplified it down. Whereas the Amesbury studio space, you know, that was certainly a few $1,000s, right? Like we spent money, right? So like, and that's not even counting the gear. That's like we hired an interior designer to come in and like help us think through the space. There's like elements outside what you see on video that, you know, that are part of that room itself. So that's, and similarly, like if you are going to be building out an in-person recording studio like this, like you need to think through that, like the, you know, the furniture, the lighting, the gear, that like everything that comes into it. Plus, this is probably in a separate space from any of their homes, right? This is like a separate defined space that's similar to an office. So there's a lot of additional costs that go into this above and beyond turning one of your rooms or a shared space into a recording space, right? So there's just a higher level intentionality right here, where there's like they're spending more money, right?
Don't tell him I said this. I hate to agree with Marshall, but if I was David, I would definitely swap out the fake plants for real plants. For some reason, with this exact lighting, I can fully tell that they're fake, and I would just get real plants. And those kind of succulents, like the one in the back, they're next to impossible to kill. The big snake plant that he has, that's a fake plant, also next to impossible to kill.
I have one of those. So if I have one, anyone can have one.
Yeah. I would rather see, and again, that's a good idea, people. If you're going to put them and it's in focus enough that you can tell that they're fake. Because I used to have what I used to call the effing ficus behind me, and I just got rid of it because it just looked dumb. And it also collects dust. And so really bad for unless you're the type of person who's going to go wipe all your leaves, they easily collect dust. So I was just like, I'm over it. So the ones we have in Amesbury, the big sucking thing that me and Kim kept moving from room to room, like it's a fig tree, I think. Like that thing is beautiful, and something about that little extra piece of life adds something to the studio. Yeah. So go to Home Depot or Michael's or wherever you go. I don't know if Michael sells plants. I'm not from there. I just tell them I need something that you can't kill that's green. and they will hook you up with some plants that, basically won't die. And all you need to do is hit them with a spritz like every 6 months and they're good. So yeah, I think it's very, very, very important. And like you said, honestly, if I'm looking at his studio right now, and I know that there's a Rodecaster Pro, I know that there is a Mac Mini, and I know that there's 2 SMBs and a couple of light stands, this is under $2,000.
So yeah,
minus the space.
That's fair. I guess it depends on. So it seems to me like if they're doing this show on a regular basis, they actually have guests that are physically coming into their space. That means that it's probably not in their home, right? And also,
it's not.
If you're
it's
using
his office,
right? So, and if you're using a sofa like that, which I am more and more a
That's
giant
not a
fan
cheap
of,
sofa.
right? It's not a cheap sofa, and B, it means that like that sofa is likely not used for anything else other than these shots, right? Because you're not going to be constantly moving all of that gear out of the way so that you can enjoy that to watch the game, right? Like that's not happening. So that is incurring additional cost, right? Because it's not a shared space. Whereas like I could probably set up on the sofa that I have in here, a camera angle. It would take up some of my room, but I could probably still use that to like lounge or read or whatever else. But I wouldn't do that down in my library because we're in that space all the time as a family. We're inviting people in. So like there are costs that are incurred with where your set is, and you really should be thinking about trying to keep it stuff out of the way, like, right? So it like in that you don't want to be constantly messing with your gear and moving it all around. Ideally it's in a place where you can just leave it, or it folds away like quickly and easily and you can pop it back up quickly, but it's still in the same space. So I think that's where in my mind, it's more of an investment to create a defined space like that if you're welcoming people in, because it's likely not in your home and you're monopolizing that entire space for just this particular purpose. You're not using all of that furniture for more than one thing.
Yeah, very good. All right, let's go to the next. I like this. And again, that means you guys don't forget to drop your questions in.
That was it.
I was going to say we might be at the last
examples.
one. Yeah.
The only thing I have is DJ Rob's photo, which I'll put up right now.
Okay, great. Awesome.
Yeah. I was going to say, let's show Rob's.
So I mean, we've covered a lot, and I know we're nearing the end of this episode anyway, but it is again important just as a summary to remember that there's no wrong when it comes to podcast sets. There are a ton of different options available to you. You can be as simple as just a simple background, or as complicated as building out an entire like defined studio space. But what you really want to be thinking about is whether or not you have guests that are coming physically in and out of your space. Are you calling people in? Is it just you on camera? Are you standing or sitting? How are you sharing like these are the things that you need to be thinking about when it comes to your set and how you're recording video. I love this of Rob. Like it's a vibe, right?
Dope.
Like he's got a whole vibe.
I mean, it's Rob, so it has to be a vibe. Let's just start
but
there.
It should be like he's not scared by incorporating his personality into this space. And it's really done well with the use of like light and color. It creates an experience, right? And this experience cannot be faked with a virtual background, right? Like
and very intentional, by the way. So when Rob was planning his space out, I'm going to speak out of turn. Rob, if I say anything wrong, you can fix it in the comments.
Correct us.
Rob was in the Facebook group for a couple of months collecting thoughts and ideas and trying different things until he's like, okay, I'm ready. And then he built the studio. So everything in here has a full intention and a full purpose. And you can tell that by the studio. It is borderline perfect.
Yeah.
I don't want to give him that much credit because he's my friend.
but it also wasn't
borderline perfect.
It also wasn't overnight. So again, hear that, also hear he was months in the Facebook group sharing updates, asking for feedback. Like it's probably never done. It's okay to start at any point. It's okay to continue to like make tweaks and changes throughout. So this is an art form. This is not a like This is not like a spreadsheet. This is a work of art right behind you. This is not something where you're like, I'm all done. Like it's something that is going to grow and change, and you're going to realize that something is working or not working, or, you know, or you see another idea that might make more sense for you than what you have right now. So don't overthink it, but always be playing with it. Like always be creative in this space. Like this is half the fun, is giving a personality to your content.
Yo, this is so good. Listen, I just want to say the level of dope that this is just incredible. And again, so much attention to detail, so much things. And again, as you add things, you can add things, you can take away things. I love one thing that's super unique, and I want you to notice this. He's using what you guys might consider a non-traditional mic, but from this audiophilia, it's a we know what it is. But for the general population, that's going to be something that catches their eye, because everybody's used to SM7B or an MB7 or some other weird thing. But, you know, he has his mic there. The lava lamp goes to show that we are DJs of a certain vintage. Thank you for representing, Rob.
I love the lava lamp.
And again, Jeremy, so you'll notice, like I said, Rob and I are similar. We are the perfect shade of high yellow that warm tones would look weird on us. It will almost make us look sick. So we lean into the cool tones. And again, that's just something you figure out. And listen, you know how I know these things? Because I asked my friend who's a makeup artist, and she told me. And then she was like, yeah, you should do it this way. So ask your, you know, people in your area that know something about makeup and lighting and skin. And, you know, you have resources, people. You absolutely have resources. And Katie and I were struggling in the office trying to make everything cute. And then it's like, oh, we have a interior designer in our midst. Why are we struggling when we have a professional that's like the other end of the dining room table? So you have to use the resources you have. If there's something that comes up and it requires some engineering, why would we sit there and fake it when we have an engineer in the family? Right? So use those resources that are available to you if possible. And one last thing that I would throw in, that if you are in your area, and I want you to hear this because we met a bunch of people at PodFest who do this. I met a lovely couple, and I'll never forget the guy's name is Botter, because it's almost like water, but with a B. Him and his wife, and her wife named Blythe, nicest people ever. They started a Jack's Podcasters for Jacksonville Podcasters. And so now that they know all of the people, they could, this is a Hawaii word, hui together means like team up or like make like a co-op, like you know, the people do for the farms out there. You can find a spot and maybe put it together as a co-op. And in fact, you could write to your Chamber of Commerce in your local area and possibly get a grant, because there are some places who need studios, legal offices, hospitals, whatever, but they're never going to build one because they don't have anybody on staff that would build one. And then you can maybe say, here, what I'll do. I'll take this room that you're using as a closet and I'll build it into a studio that we can use for the community to come and podcast. But it's going to be great for you as a business when you guys need to do high-level Zoom calls. You have a nice, beautiful set-up studio, and we'll help maintain it. And if you need anything, we're on call. And I know this works because that's how we started our first co-working space before I had a physical co-working space. We literally started in the basement of a hospital in an old records room because they had fast internet. It's the only reason why we went there. And that room was empty doing jack. And they're like, yeah, and we need to do videos here and there to do remote consultations. And so we solved their IT struggles, and then they solved our space struggles. So get creative. You know, if you can't do this in your home, get creative. And if you're doing something for a nonprofit or you have a thing that you're working on, there's so many grants out there. You know, the dude with the question mark suit, Matthew Lesko, whatever the heck his name is, you could ask ChatGPT, can I get a grant that helps people learn about old frying pans? And then you might be surprised.
Awesome.
There you go. I got one question. Let's get this taken care of real quick. Ed wants to know, when using a landscape format, how do you make them in the vertical clips when sending them to Opus clips? Opus does it automatically.
Well,
so in Eatcam, you can just send it.
This is actually a really good question, though, and I have been thinking about this a lot. So in this current setup, because we've been making a bunch of updates to the flow, but in this current scene that you're looking at, right, we have like a pretty chunky background image around us, and we have like our names on it, and we have a lot of like visual elements in this scene, right? So when Opus does its Opus thing and smooshes us into a vertical and stacks us, there's all these like graphic elements around us that Opus doesn't really know what to do with, and candidly doesn't do a great job of dealing with, right? Like Opus just really wants us to be like a simple side-by-side video. So Ed, you are absolutely right. I would say that I've been thinking more and more about actually simplifying this layout to like remove our names, to remove like to maybe make this background a little less chunky so that A, it's just cleaner and a little bit more like focused for people who are watching, and B, it'll make it a lot easier to repurpose. So you are right. In this landscape format, I actually think we are overdoing it a little bit on the branding. Like we were trying to show like all the cool things that Ecamm can do. But I think more and more like the content of this podcast is really meant to be conversational, community driven, informative. And so I do actually think in this case, it's probably a little bit of a distraction. So it would both, I think, make the content better, make the show better, and then also make it way easier to use tools like Opus Clip. So that's my answer, as I've been having those same thoughts on actually like where by overproducing it in the recording, we're making it a little bit more complicated for us to repurpose it without it looking a little bit bonkers.
And so my counterpoint to that is on short form clips, it's the content. Nobody gives a damn what it looks like.
True.
Have you seen TikTok and Wrinkle Cam and like 75 million views on a crusty, I took the video with my thumbprint on the FaceTime camera, 75 million views.
True. Yeah,
we are
true.
telling ourselves lies so that we don't have to create content. I can't get it perfect, so I'm not going to put it out there. Nobody cares because half the time they're going to listen to it on the captions only because they can't have the volume up because they're in the doctor's office, or it's 30 seconds. And we're telling them how if you were to go to this particular thing right now, you would increase your success rate by 25%. And it's going to require these steps: step A, step B, step C. If you do that, I guarantee you, you're going to make $10,000 as soon as this video is over. You know what? You don't care if the video looked like this.
True.
I'm just saying, like, so you're not wrong at all, Katie. From a visual perspective, yes, it would be prettier without. But if anything we learned about short form video, it do not have to be cute at all. But yes, this is a bad layout for Opus. So they're both could be true. Now, we shoot ISOs, so it would take more work, but we already have the ISOs. And you could just throw the ISOs at Opus, and that's fine. And then in an upcoming release, we are going to make it so that you can have a separate vertical recording.
Yeah. Exactly.
Then
there are lots of solutions, but I just wanted
in the pipeline.
I wanted to just point out that like these are all absolutely things that we should all be thinking about, and there's nothing stopping us from testing it and making tweaks and changes. So like you are right, Ed. It's a great question, and it's something that we should all be kind of considering. Like how, as Doc said, how important are those clips? Is it wasting time to try to make them perfect? Do they need to be perfect? Like all of these things are things we should be testing and asking.
I would produce 10 messy ones as opposed to one perfect one. Now, the other thing that nobody seems to get through their head, you do not have to make it vertical. You can, for what we're doing, which is talking heads, there is no detail being shown on screen. Put the entirety, Paul, 16 by 9 in the middle and put the caption in the space underneath.
Yep.
And put a backup element in the top. That is the best way to do it because we're not doing I'm not over here showing you how to put the super glue on this one little piece right here.
No one's following along.
It's just Katie and I having a conversation. So put the entirety of the thing there.
Yep.
That is it. Everybody is overcomplicated it. And if you know who does this really well? Zaylee. She'll put the 16 by 9 here and another picture at the top, caption at the bottom. A whole bunch of people do it, but hers just came to mind. That's the best way to do it. Unless you're trying to show off like how to put together a lens or something, you don't need to push it. As a matter of fact, it's probably better if you don't push it.
It's very, very true. Awesome. We did it. We learned a ton about podcast sets.
Yo, in there like swimwear. Man, we nailed it again. All right, people, here's the rules. All you got to do is go over to flow.ecam.com and you can find out everything you need to know about the Flow. You can leave us reviews. You can leave us questions. You can ask to be a guest on the show. You can do whatever you want. Just go on over there to flow.ecam.com and make sure you leave a couple $100 in the corner. I'm joking. This show is brought to you by Shure. Listen, people, I love my Shure products. I could talk about this forever, but this podcast would be 35 hours long if I told you how much I love Shure products. So if you're looking for a good microphone, you know what? It's the industry standard. You'll find things cheaper, but you won't find things better. And Shure is about to announce their 100th anniversary. So you know you're dealing with professionalism. You know you're dealing with quality. They even test their microphones with liquid sweat to make sure that they will survive just about anything. So go and check out Shure at Shure.com and tell them that Ecamm sent you. We got a link in the comments and there'll be a link in the show notes. Yay! This was an awesome episode, Kate. It was really cool. And I can't believe we made it through 100 episodes.
Happy 100. And thank you so much to all of our Flow Writers for being with us throughout the last 100 episodes. It's your great questions and ideas and just general awesomeness that keeps us motivated and excited. So huge thank you to all of you.
And thank you to Smart Jeremy.
Thank you to Smart Jeremy. Huge thank you to Luis, our incredible producer, and Paul and Caleb and the whole team. We really appreciate it. And as Doc said, really, we are always open to hearing questions and ideas for future episodes. But we have some fun things coming up in the next few weeks for you. So definitely be sure to check us out.
There you go. I was just letting Rob know we're coming to NAB. So he's going to have to sneak out of his house this time. Come and visit. And me and Paul are going to be there. So one for us and one for the old guy. Come hang out. Anyway, love you guys. We're going to say this like we always do. Flow Riders, for the 100th time. Out.
Bye, everyone.